Welcome to the Deep Dive. You know how we do things here. Cut through the noise, get right to the good stuff.
That's right.
Today, we're diving into the Leadership Training Activity Book. And let me tell you, this thing is hefty.
It's a big one.
But don't worry, we're going to pull out the golden nuggets for you.
Yeah.
Actionable insights you can use right away to boost those leadership skills.
Exactly. Turn that knowledge into action.
Now, right off the bat, one thing that struck me about this book, it's the way it talks about leadership as a competency.
Yeah.
Like it's not something you're born with, some mystical quality.
Right.
It's a skill set. You can learn it.
You can develop it.
And they break it down into 6 dimensions of leadership: communication, performance management, coaching, counseling, human relations, decision-making, plan. It's almost like a roadmap, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it is. It's like a framework. And the book actually gives you a tool, the Organizational Leadership Assessment.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, to help you pinpoint which of those dimensions you might need to, focus on more.
I see. Based on your current role and responsibility.
So it's tailored to you.
Yeah, instead of trying to be good at everything, you can really hone in on the areas that are going to make the biggest impact.
Right, right. So like if you're leading a team through a huge change,
Right.
your communication and decision-making would be key.
Exactly.
But if you're mentoring somebody new, then maybe it's more about the coaching and the human relations side.
Yeah.
Now, another thing this book leans on heavily is the Kouzes-Posner leadership model.
Yeah.
These guys, Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner, have done a ton of research on what makes a great leader.
Yeah, they're giants in the field.
Really foundational stuff. And in their book, The Leadership Challenge, they lay out 5 practices for exemplary leadership.
Okay.
Model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, and encourage the heart.
A lot of people, get a lot out of that.
And their research actually showed that there's a strong connection between the best leaders and how much they learn. Oh, that's interesting.
So the best leaders are also the best learners.
That's powerful.
It really makes you think about how important continuous learning is for anybody who wants to be a good leader.
It's not optional.
It's essential. And it's a journey. It's not like you arrive.
Yeah.
You're always developing, always trying to get better.
Absolutely.
And that kind of brings us to another distinction that the book makes, and I think it's an important one: the difference between managers and leaders.
Right.
And I know a lot of times people use these terms interchangeably,
Yeah.
but the book is saying that they're actually 2 different roles.
Okay.
So for example, and they have a really good example in here, managers are focused on keeping things running smoothly, maintaining the status quo.
Right. Keeping the ship afloat.
Yeah, whereas leaders, they challenge the status quo. They push for innovation and change.
They want to shake things up.
Exactly. Managers do things right. Leaders do the right thing.
That's a good distinction.
It is.
It's subtle, but it's important.
Right. And I think it highlights how both roles are important. You need both.
You do.
But it's about understanding what each one brings to the table and then developing the right skills for whichever one you're in.
Yeah. And I think being able to balance those 2 mindsets, that's really what makes somebody a truly effective leader.
Right. Being able to kind of switch between those 2 modes.
Exactly.
And the book suggests one way that leaders can bridge this gap, and I found this really interesting, is through storytelling.
Storytelling.
Yeah, and I know, it sounds a little strange.
A little out there.
When you think about leadership, you don't necessarily think about storytelling.
No, it's not the first thing that comes to mind.
It seems more campfire than boardroom.
Right?
But the book makes a case for why storytelling is so powerful.
Okay.
What do you think about that? Why would storytelling be important in a leadership context?
Well, think about it. A good story, it can really grab people on an emotional level.
Right.
It can help them connect with the vision, understand a strategy, get on board with a change in ways that just laying out facts and figures can't do.
It brings it to life.
Exactly. Makes
Yeah.
it real. And actually, they recommend a book on this.
Oh, yeah.
Encouraging the Heart by Kouzes and Posner if you want to dive deeper into that whole storytelling thing.
Okay, I'll add that to the list.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Now, let's just pause here for a second and recap what we've covered so far.
Okay.
We talked about how the book defines leadership as a learned competency.
Right.
Broke it down into those 6 dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
Remember those? Communication, performance management,
Yeah.
and then it gives you that assessment tool to help you figure out, okay, where do I need to grow?
Right. Personalize it.
Yeah. Then we talked about Kouzes and Posner. their leadership model.
Yeah.
5 practices of exemplary leadership. And that really fascinating idea that the best leaders are also the best learners.
Absolutely.
And then finally, we dove into the difference between managers and leaders.
2 distinct roles.
Right. And how crucial it is to be able to balance those 2 mindsets.
And how storytelling can help with that.
Exactly. A lot of good stuff already.
Yeah.
But we're just getting warmed up.
Oh, there's more.
Buckle up. You don't want to miss what's coming next. We're going to dive into some of the practical tools and techniques this book has to offer to help you level up your leadership game and put all of this into action.
We'll make it real for you.
Real world stuff.
That's what we do here.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're digging deeper into the Leadership Training Activity book. And now we're getting into the nitty-gritty, the practical stuff.
The how-to.
Exactly. And one of the big themes that keeps popping up is this idea of self-reflection. Really understanding yourself. Strengths, weaknesses, values, what makes you tick.
Yeah, it's like you can't lead others effectively if you don't even know yourself.
Right. Know thyself.
Yeah.
And they have this suggestion in the book, and it's something that, I think a lot of people might roll their eyes at. Journaling.
Oh, journaling.
Yeah. Sounds a little old school, right?
A little bit.
But they make a compelling case for how journaling can actually be a really powerful tool for leaders.
Okay, I'm listening.
So what do they say? It helps you process your experiences, track your progress, figure out where you need to grow.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, we're so busy all the time, right?
Yeah.
Just bombarded with information. It's easy to lose sight of what we're actually thinking and feeling.
Right. You're just going.
Yeah, and journaling, it forces you to slow down.
To be intentional.
To be present.
There's actually a great example in the book.
Oh, yeah.
This leader who was facing some serious resistance from her team on a new project. She's feeling frustrated, doesn't know how to move forward.
I've been there.
And she starts journaling about it. And through that process, she realizes that the root of her frustration is actually fear of conflict.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And when she figures that out, she's able to come up with a plan to address it.
So it's like, it's not just about venting. It's about uncovering those deeper issues.
Exactly. And those deeper issues, that's where the real growth happens.
Yeah.
Okay, another key aspect of leadership development that the book really hits on is embracing risk.
Risk.
Taking risks.
That's interesting because usually when we think about good leadership, we think about minimizing risk.
Right. Playing it safe.
Don't rock the boat.
Exactly. So how do they justify that?
Well, they make a distinction between reckless risk and calculated risk.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
It's not about just jumping into the unknown blindly.
It's about being strategic.
Yeah, making informed decisions based on a careful assessment of the potential upsides and downsides.
That's not about avoiding risk altogether.
No, it's about managing it.
They actually use this great phrase, de-risking heroic ambitions.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, right. So instead of saying, oh, that goal is too risky, we can't do it, you say, okay, how can we make it less risky?
So you still go for it.
Exactly. You find ways to mitigate the potential downsides.
I see.
And they actually give you a framework for doing that, the risk evaluation plan. You identify the risks, assess how likely they are to happen, how big of an impact they'd have, and then you come up with strategies to minimize those risks.
So it's a structured approach.
Yeah, it's not just winging it.
Okay. That makes me feel better about the whole risk thing.
Yeah, me too. Now, let's talk about mentorship.
Okay.
The book is a big proponent of mentorship.
Makes sense.
And they say it doesn't matter what level you're at.
Everyone can benefit from a mentor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned executive.
Yeah.
They have this 7-step process for finding a mentor.
7 steps.
Yeah. And it starts with self-reflection, figuring out what your goals are, what kind of guidance you need.
Okay.
Then you identify potential mentors, reach out to them, build that relationship.
Sounds pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's laid out really clearly. And one thing that stood out to me is that they really emphasize the two-way street aspect of mentorship.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
It's not just about you taking.
Right. It's a partnership.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You should be looking for ways to contribute to your mentor's growth as well.
Give back.
Okay. Let's switch gears a bit and talk about creativity.
Creativity.
I feel like that's such a buzzword these days.
It is. Everyone wants to be more creative.
What does that actually mean? How do you unlock creativity?
Right.
And the book's take on it is that it's not just about having these brilliant ideas out of nowhere.
It's more about creating the right environment.
Yeah, fostering a culture of creativity within teams and organizations.
Okay.
So it's less about individual genius and more about collective brainstorming.
I see.
They introduced this technique called Scamper.
Skipper.
Yeah, it stands for substitute, combine, adapt, modify, magnify, minify, put to other uses, eliminate, reverse, rearrange.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's basically a structured brainstorming method to help teams generate creative solutions.
Well, it gives you a framework.
Yeah, it helps you think outside the box. And the book also talks about the importance of creating a safe space for idea sharing.
That's huge.
Yeah, where people feel comfortable throwing out ideas without being judged.
Psychological safety.
Right. And where it's okay to experiment and fail.
You have to be willing to fail.
It's about shifting that mindset from this is how we've always done it to what if we tried this?
I like that.
Okay, last but not least, let's touch on recognition and celebration.
Okay.
This is something that I think gets overlooked a lot, but the book really emphasizes how important it is.
For morale.
Yeah, for building a positive and motivating work environment.
And remember, we talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons people leave their jobs is because they don't feel appreciated.
Lack of recognition.
Exactly.
So what do they suggest? They have this formula called HEART.
Heart.
Yeah, it stands for highlight, event, accomplishment, recognition, thanks.
Okay.
Basically a way to plan celebrations.
To be intentional about it.
Right. And to celebrate both big and small wins.
All wins.
So let's do a quick recap of this section. We talked about self-reflection, journaling, embracing risk, the importance of mentorship, unlocking creativity, and recognizing and celebrating success.
Phew, that's a lot.
It is. But it's all really good stuff.
Actionable stuff.
I'm feeling inspired. What about you?
Me too, yeah. Lots to think about. And it really all comes back to this idea that the book keeps hammering home. Leadership, it's not about having a fancy title.
Right.
It's not about being the loudest voice in the room.
Nope.
It's about growth. It's about effort. It's about constantly striving to be better.
And this book, it gives you the tools to do that.
It does, all those exercises, those assessments.
Real-world examples.
Yeah, it really gives you a framework for how to level up your leadership game.
Step by step.
So I'm curious, for our listeners out there, if you had to pick just one thing from everything we've talked about today, just one area to really focus on, what would it be? Ooh, that's a good question. I think for me, it would have to be that self-awareness piece.
Yeah.
You know, starting with the journaling, because that's really the foundation.
It is.
Once you understand yourself, your values, your motivations, then you can start to build on that.
It's like the soil.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything else grows from there.
But it's not enough to just understand it. You have to do something about it.
Right.
So what's one concrete step you can take this week to put that learning into action? Think about that.
Ooh, I like that.
Hmm.
A challenge for our listeners.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an amazing deep dive into the leadership training activity book. We've covered so much ground.
We have the 6 dimensions of leadership, the Kouzes-Posner model,
Managers versus leaders, the power of storytelling.
journaling, risk-taking, mentorship, creativity, celebrating success.
Ooh. And we hope that all of you listening out there have walked away with some actionable takeaways, some real nuggets of wisdom that you can apply in your own leadership journey.
Because remember, it's a journey. It's not a destination. You're always learning, always growing.
So keep diving deep. Keep leading with intention. And if you really want to go all in, we highly recommend checking out the Leadership Training Activity book for yourself.
It's packed with good stuff.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep leading.